differentiating himself slightly from the normal run of grey-suited politicians. And he seemed to have a sense of fun. On his first trip to America as Prime Minister, he tried his hand at baseball and put on the friendly face Japan likes to present to the rest of the world. Back in Tokyo, the faction leaders thought it was all rather good fun, confident their puppet was well under control. But Mr. Kaifu had made a few shrewd calculations of his own. If he couldn't play the normal game of manoeuvring in smoke-filled rooms, his only hope for survival was to appeal to a constituency not normally of concern to Japanese politicians, the Japanese public, and the country's international partners. Soon the puppet was tweaking the strings, when, during a trade row with America, Japan's bureaucrats came up with the usual raft of opaque proposals. Mr. Kaifu told them to get lost and gave them 7 days to come up with something better. And while the disgraced party leaders waited in the wings, ready to make a comeback after the usual period of contrition, Mr. Kaifu developed an annoying habit of saying that as far as he was concerned, they hadn't been forgiven. Then he began laying to rest the ghosts of Japan's history. When South Korean President Noteiu visited Tokyo, Mr. Kaifu didn't just apologize for Japan's behavior in the Second World War, he insisted, in the teeth of opposition from the right, that the Emperor apologize as well. Prime Ministerial confessions of guilt by Mr. Kaifu have since become a regular fixture in much of Asia. But, like all good adventures, it seemed Mr. Kaifu's had to come to an end, and it was the Gulf crisis which threatened to finish him off. With his usual reforming zeal, he tried to pass a bill in Parliament which would have allowed Japan's military to become involved abroad for the first time since the war. The result was a humiliating political defeat. The tide then seemed to turn against him on every front. Disgraced politicians were readmitted to the ranks of the Liberal Democrats, and the party's biggest faction said it would dump Mr. Kaifu in the autumn and put one of its own men in the top job. But the death of Shintaro Abe, a faction leader who was next in line to become Prime Minister, threw a spanner in the works. The resulting confusion is proving to be excellent news for Mr. Kaifu. It's still very much in the pre-production phase, but it's now possible that this most powerless of Prime Ministers could be asked to take part in An Amazing Adventures of Toshiki Kaifu, Part 2.
And on Monday night, as part of Newsnight's coverage of the G7 summit, Charles Wheeler will be interviewing Prime Minister Kaifu. Now, a very quick look at the first editions. Daily Telegraph, mortgages cut as bank rates fall again. Rushdie's translator murdered. Financial Times, naturally enough, goes on the home loans issue. And The Times, freed IRA suspect rearrested in Dublin. A rather dramatic picture. That's it. All from Newsnight tonight. We'll be back on Monday night at 10:30. But for the moment, from all of us on the programme, a very good night.
In rehearsal for tomorrow's live transmission from Leningrad, the Kirov chorus and soloists present Prokofiev's War and Peace. This international production is an important platform for new Soviet talent and is seen as the cultural harvest of Glasnost. The BBC, the Kirov Theatre, the Royal Opera House and the Bastille Opera in Paris collaborate for this innovative production to celebrate the centenary of Prokofiev's birth. War and Peace, live from the Kirov in Leningrad, tomorrow at 4 o'clock on BBC2 and in stereo on Radio 3. In about 5 minutes here on 2, resistance fighter Lino Ventura finds himself at the mercy of the Gestapo and in pursuit of his betrayer. Jean-Pierre Melville, himself a wartime underground fighter, directs the atmospheric and challenging The Army in the Shadows. First on BBC2, out of the shadows and into the spotlight, here's Bill Giles with tonight's Weatherview.
A very good evening to you. I'm going to start the forecast tonight by looking over the other side of the world in the South China Seas, where we've got a full-blown typhoon, Typhoon Ziki. It's got winds gusting up to 80 knots around it, which is 90 to 100 miles an hour, and is now pushing its way towards the Chinese mainland. And it looks as though it's going to land somewhere near Hainan Island, which is 200 or 300 miles to the west of Hong Kong, and still some very strong winds and a lot of rain, of course, associated with it. But back to this country, no typhoons around, but some fairly strong winds bringing these weather fronts in from time to time. And they'll be bringing cloud, rain, as well as those strong winds too. But it does look as though, as we go through in towards Sunday, this little ridge of high pressure will be coming in, giving us, many of us anyway, a dry day, more in the way of sunshine. But that's not going to last too long, because you can see on Sunday another low pressure area sitting out to the west. That's going to drag in wet and windy weather in from the southwest to all parts through the day, and then turn brighter and rather more showery. But let's come back and have a little hop across the channel into Europe, because a lot of thunderstorms around there through today. You can see on the satellite picture, in the middle part of the afternoon, the storms really beginning to get going over in southeastern parts of France up towards Switzerland. And just a short while ago, they stretched really from northeastern Spain, southern parts of France, really some nasty ones up over the Alps there, stretching through Germany up in towards Scandinavia. And certainly I think as we go through in towards the weekend, the thunderstorms likely to continue. There will be some sunshine, of course, in between them, but heavy storms, southern France, over the Alps, down across into Yugoslavia, across into northern parts of Italy as well. And still some pretty unsettled weather, as we've talked about, up in the far northwest. But down through the Mediterranean, wall-to-wall sunshine right the way from the west across into the east. And that's where you're going to get the highest temperatures. These darker colours show temperatures in southern Spain up to about 40, and generally around 30, 35 in the Mediterranean. A bit cooler than that further north, as you can see. That's the weather map then, and it means that tonight we're going to get this misty low cloud, drizzly rain pushing in from the southwest across many parts of England and Wales, but a mild night down here, 13 Celsius, 55 Fahrenheit, a little bit colder up in Scotland. Over England and Wales, a pretty grey, misty, murky start, patches of rain around through tomorrow, a bit brighter over Scotland and Northern Ireland, but still a lot of showers around. And you'll find this brighter weather very gradually coming in across Ireland, and then through tomorrow afternoon, creeping its way across Wales into some western parts of England too, and then maybe, just maybe, by the end of the day, getting down into the southeastern part. Temperatures very much the same as they have been today, 20 Celsius, for instance, in the southeast, 68 Fahrenheit. Sunday, not a bad day, dry with some sunshine, a little bit warmer, 1 or 2 showers in the north, and then this wet and windy weather pushing in from the southwest on Monday, turning rather more showery later on. That's it. Bye-bye for now.
Images of childhood from Britain, France and Germany usher in a new series celebrating the home movie. Cine Memo, Monday at 7:45 on BBC2. Over on BBC1 in 20 minutes, except in Northern Ireland, an innocent pit stop at a roadside diner heralds a night of unspeakable horror for Cloris Leachman, left not only to pay the bill by a mysteriously vanished husband, but to combat a pair of evil pursuers. Dying room only. Here on 2 Now, treachery in the ranks of the French resistance provides the starting point for our film, a highly acclaimed and immensely powerful work from director Jean-Pierre Melville. Lino Ventura leads a superb cast in The Army in the Shadows.